Dr. John DeMartini. This is one of the most amazing and inspiring shows that you can listen into. If you want to be on the edge of your seats, if you want to open up your heart, if you want to expand your mind, and you want to meet incredible people, stay tuned because you're just about to experience a transformative radio show that will change your life. And you're listening to the Dr. Pat Show that's coming up right next.
Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. Talk radio to thrive by. Powerful, inspiring, and coming to you live, bringing you stories of people like you and me, busting through and living life full out. Get ready to dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail.
Hey, everybody, I want to welcome you to a special edition of the Dr. Pat Show. I am so excited to introduce you to somebody, but more important, to somebody who's on purpose, on passion, and on a mission. When I say Soul Wisdom Project, I want you to remember that. Soul Wisdom Project. There's a reason for that. You're going to find out why today. You know, so many of us hear the term soul, but we don't get it. We don't understand it. We don't make sense of it. We have multidimensional meanings, and then we make up our own story about what that means. But what if we were to tell you that there is somebody that goes way back in their own history, early child, growing up in Argentina, who knew, I'm going to be a healer? What if that person took this journey to come forward, to understand not just the meaning of something, but the depth of it? That's my very special guest today and the host of the upcoming Soul Show. Yeah, that's it. The upcoming Soul Show, Soul Wisdom Project. Shakti Bottazzi is joining me here today. Now, I say Shakti Bottazzi. I say it different ways depending upon what country you come from. It doesn't matter, because what matters today is this is a person who started studying at age 19, studying with a Jesuit teacher. Opened up the path. See, when you open up the path to meditation at age 19, then you better fasten your seatbelt for the rest of your life, because you are going to experience a pathway that no animal card could tell you, no therapist could tell you, but in your soul, in your heart. For years, Shakti walked among the people, the earth people, trained with the shamans. And you have to ask yourself, did she know at 19? Or did she just take the journey? Did she do what so many of us here were meant to do, which is now a challenge for me in my life at the moment? So I'm learning from her to go with the flow. And then, like me, you decide, I'm going to get a real job because somebody said to you, get a real job. And you go do that. And now you take your training, your experience, your new spiritual eyes, your new soul wisdom, and you work in a corporate environment, and it teaches you something you would not have learned. It teaches you about the human factor. It teaches you about, this is me, the spiritual being now in a very real world. And then the turning points. That's what today's show is about. You're going to hear about the turning points. We have a term right now in the world that's called pivots. I love the word pivot, but this is a term. For many of us, we called it tipping points. Thank you, Dr. Jean Houston. We called it turning points. And now in our modern culture, for multi-generation, pivot is the word. I don't care what you call it. What it means is what you're doing yesterday ain't what you're going to be doing today, and clearly isn't going to be what you're doing tomorrow. Shakti, it's great to have you. Welcome.
Thank you. I loved the introduction you gave. I'm so excited about starting this Soul Wisdom Project show. And thank you for inviting me to help me spread the voice and to really kickstart energetically this with your support as well. It's really awesome.
It's an honor for me because, I called it in 23 years ago. You know what I mean? Call it in, where you're like, oh my God, my life is like, I can't cuss on air, but my life is like, you know what? And I'm not going to take that big fat corporate job. And so here we have a turning point and a pivot. But that's what your life was like too. So what I want to ask you is this, I gave a very brief introduction. And when you look at that, well, coming up with, you mentioned it before the show, the Gemini full moon. You see, that Gemini full moon is I'm a shaman and I'm also a corporate person.
Totally. Yes, totally.
So the real question is, who is Shakti?
That is such a great question. And just yesterday, a friend of mine was saying, I know you're doing a show now, Soul Wisdom Project, but I think you should be also doing a podcast about business. And I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
no. But it's like where my joy goes, right? Where I have fun. Like here, I have fun. Business, not so much fun anymore.
Yeah, but if you and I did a show on business, I'll tell you, we
Oh,
would
if you and I
rip
did
the
it together,
daylight.
I'm
I'm not kidding.
planting that seed.
Oh my God, did you just even mention that? Because it is so in the back of my mind about doing resurrecting my business show, but
Okay,
not like let me tell you about recruiting.
no,
No.
no. Okay, so let's plant that seed. We'll see what comes up of this
Oh
because
my
you never know. I'm
God.
not putting limits to the
Okay,
universe.
good, good,
But
good.
to answer your question, actually, you mentioned a key aspect of my journey because as a young corporate manager, and I became I received a master in business administration when I was 29. I came to the US for the first time with a Fulbright scholarship. I did all of that, and then I entered the management team in a corporation, and I went from there, and I really embraced the masculine aspects in me, the intrepid, energetic, forward movement, tenacious, groundbreaking, that very masculine energy of forward movement, which is fantastic when used well, but it's not as good for a woman in particular when it's very uneven. It was a lot. And I dressed like a man and I wore shoes like a man and I even wore ties, and I was very much into that energy. And I felt that I could be safe in that energy, protected me in a very masculine world. And we're talking, 40 years ago. We were talking 37 years ago, a different world than we see today. Then the crash, because it was untenable. So I was traveling. I was director for Southern Europe and Middle East for a big multinational corporation. And I was crying myself to sleep in the rooms, in the hotels. I was missing my babies. I have two boys that were toddlers and, 5 years old, whatever. It was so hard. My heart was breaking. And here I was, at the pinnacle of the career that I had as a young corporate executive. I was the sole breadwinner, second husband, father of my children, big dark night of the soul husband. And I was so unhappy. And eventually, as everything happens, that had to crash. And when it crashed, I went all the way into being feminine. And I bought a pink agenda, pink pants, a pink tracksuit or sweatshirt, whatever you want to call it. It was so funny. It's like now everything was pink and I was all feminine and the masculine was bad, and then I'm like, this is not working either, and so that's when the integration happened. And that probably was about 10-12 years ago. And when that happened, suddenly, right, this soul expansion happened, both integrated. I'm using both. I'm using the feminine, receptive, creative channel, warm, receiving, embracing. And I have the ability to get all of that, give it structure, give it forward movement, create the expansion that needs to happen so the world can receive all of that. You need both. It's not this or that.
Yeah. And what we're talking about though is so exciting because we're living in a time right now that we don't have the quote crash that you talked about, because that was like, oh my gosh, like we had the largest audience on the planet from that because so many people were laid off. And it was a point in time where we looked at that and our audience. As a matter of fact, I just heard from Susie Hutchins today. Susie Hutchins, let's talk about Susie. Susie has been listening to the show from day one. She listened to crust busting. She listens now. And this morning I get an email from Susie and my heart broke open. You know how, and I would love for you to talk to this because Soul Wisdom Project is about this. Sometimes you have to ask for the wisdom. Show me a sign. Give me something. Show me something. And sometimes you may get a raven. Your roof may fall in. I don't know. Or Susie, one of the longest listeners, sends you a beautiful email about ping pong. And that was all I needed to make 4 major decisions today. So I want to ask you this. What are the signs that showed up in that early stage of your life when you went through that downturn, when you looked at your life, when you said, are we really doing this in America today? What were the signs? And did you, Shakti, follow them?
What a great question. I love it. So, first of all, the key about what you just said is most often we don't recognize the signs because they don't come dressed like we're hoping. They don't come dressed in little angel wings. They come dressed like disaster and demise and like everything is falling down because what is not working, what you're asking needs for the what is not working to go away. And it can only go away when it collapses and implodes. And so sometimes when we are in a major turning point, the signs are really disguised as disaster, quote unquote. And when we're more aligned and we really cleaned a lot of that and we're really more fine tuning, then the signs are more recognizable like ping pong. And I would love to know how did that, work for you, but I do get it. And sometimes they are, the raven like banging on your window. And I remember I was in LA and a few years ago at a friend's house and I was taking care of her doggy and I was talking about this problem that was right in front of me and I was talking to a friend about it and it's like, I really wish I could understand if this is what I need to do. And a hawk flew across the garden in LA, a hawk, like what? Like at 11 in the morning, was that a real hawk or was that like an illusion that showed so that I could understand that exactly what I was saying was the thing. And it was so big. It was like, I guess that is what I have
to do. Well, let me explain the ping pong if you have a minute.
Yes, please.
I am going through making major decisions, and they're great ones. The decisions that I made starting August about the company and expand, all of those, we just finished what we call phase 1. Phase 2 starts in January. And our crowdfunding starts in January. But there was something else for me that called me to really question where I want to live or where do I need to be? So it's never like, it's like, hello, y'all out there. What is going to be the best place for me to be high performing, make the most connections for the business, blah, 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 blah. And so my wish was Port Townsend, Washington. No, that was not the answer, right? So now you get an answer and you're like, what? That's the answer? And then you put it aside. Can I tell you what Susie said? Okay, this is the key. Are you ready?
Yes.
Susie, I love you. I hope you're listening because what you did for me in the email you said was so affirming. Susie sends me an email, and I have to paraphrase because I don't have it up. Dr. Pat, I want to tell you about this ping pong movie that took place, guess where? New York.
Yeah.
Now, what is my second love outside of what I do? Name it. And my best friend, Linda. It is playing table tennis.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding? I will turn down my own birthday party to go play. Okay. It's not just about playing, it's the people. So you tell me, what you heard in that message. Out of nowhere. I love you, Susie. Thank you so much. I can't
Oh my
even
gosh,
begin
yeah.
to thank you. But what do you make from it? I want to tell you about a ping pong movie. La la la, got my attention. Ping pong.
What you love in New York. Hello,
That
where
was
you need
filmed
to
in New
move.
York.
Yeah.
What do you think the message is there?
Yeah.
From my wonderful shaman corporate friend now.
It's like you need to move to New York
All right. So, or close to it.
or close to it.
But what are some of the signs you've gotten to get you from that early spiritual awareness, right? To then get on or experience that 10-year devotion. See, each of us have a ministry. I've been told I have a
Agree.
ministry. Can't totally wrap my head around that, but I'm working on it.
It is so evident. How can't you wrap your
I'm
head
working on it.
around
Are you
it?
kidding? I'm still working on, acknowledging that I actually have a doctorate. So that's a whole different show about, self-esteem. But the other thing is you knew young, but you also must have known that the path is circular in order for you to take the corporate job. So let's go full circle. How do today the multicultural background, and by the way, I shared with you what I found out about Grandpa, right?
Yes.
What a crazy family secret that
Yes.
was.
Brazil background
Oh
for
my
you.
God, a
Yeah.
farmer in Brazil, and no wonder why we all like Latin music. And then early spiritual awareness. So, how does that feel now for you in presenting Soul Wisdom Project to the world?
Mm. Well, one thing, I'm going to get emotional. I'm a very emotional person.
I'm getting
So,
emotional too,
yeah,
just over
I
Susie.
just putting it out there, the people that will follow my show, if you see me teary-eyed here and there, just flow with it. It's just energy moving forth and a good thing, I think. So, yeah, I was just tuning into how I had to go through every single one of the many dark nights of the soul that I had to be who I am today, not just knowing things, but having experienced them. And so embodying them, this famous word embodiment, which is to live with the soul in the body. And like you said, be of spirit on earth and in the structures of earth, because I had to experience it and see it from the very human side so I could really do the whole 360. And now I'm on the upward spiral of that, a higher octave of that same experience. And that's why I bring that awareness forth, or I don't bring it, I'm being guided to bring it. Let's put it that way. Does that answer your question?
I want to talk about that because what you just shared is what I call the secret to soul wisdom. I feel like a broken record today. But, and this is why when you joked about the business show, I was all over it because, I worked in corporate America for almost 25 years. I saw the worst of AT&T. Hello, you all. I saw the worst of you. That's why I don't buy your phones.
Well,
And, I watched what a mega corporation could do to people the second after Exxon, as Bellcore and one of the Bell systems downsized and created the most unethical, targeting senior. And yes, and my job was to implement it. And I said, I'm not. And so therefore I had to go. Now, not going to get into a lot of details about it, but here's the thing. I thank you for that great severance package you gave me. I will be forever grateful for that.
yes.
That gave me a fresh beginning.
You never know the paths in which you're being supported, right? That was a
Right,
means for you.
right.
Yeah.
And yet you and I still have a door that we thought was closed open.
Yeah.
So as you move forward and you're talking to the audience, what can we say to them to say, follow this soul wisdom and soul wisdom project will
Yes.
give you answers to even the most impossible scenario. right?
Mhm.
Isn't that your,
Oh,
I mean,
yes, yes.
hello, me getting into doctoral program, that was like the most impossible thing. But you understand, let's talk to the audience
So,
about that.
first of all, just so you know, and if the audience doesn't know, I'm an open channel. I've had a mystical experience about 15 years ago that opened that for me. And they're yelling in my ear that you and I need to put that business show together. Just so you know, like we'll talk about this off program, but it's just
Yes, we
coming
will.
so strong. So I have to put it out there. So the tagline for the Soul Wisdom Project is remembering the living blueprint of your soul. And that is important to answer the question you just gave me, because we all have a blueprint, which is what I call the divine blueprint. It's called the template, the divine template. It has many names. And you said something a few minutes ago. You said, that the place where I need to move is New York or near New York for the highest purpose of my business to reach the more people. You said a few words like that.
I
And
did.
I say that when you are aligned and connected and knowing and understanding what is your divine blueprint, which we can talk about it in a moment, but let's just assume you know the soul's purpose of why you're here, then you're operating at your highest and best for yourself, for your loved ones, for your family, for your friends, for your business, for your clients, for everybody and everywhere, not just people, but everywhere, spaces, sentient beings all around, for the highest and best of all of that. When that is happening, you are living and experiencing the highest frequency of your expression of your soul. And when you're experiencing that highest frequency of the expression of your soul, you're enjoying, you're fulfilling, you're fulfilled, you are touching people's lives, even being, not saying, not doing, just, hey, how are you? The day just became nicer for the person. They don't even know why. So, Soul Wisdom Project, what are you going to get when you watch the show is ways to understand why you're here, what you're here for, what is this divine blueprint, how you get in touch with it, how you can access it. There's so much we can talk about helping you, the listener, living the most exciting, most uplifting expression of your authentic self, not being somebody else, not trying to become something. On the contrary, it's forgetting the limitations, forgetting the conditionings, or letting go more than forgetting, so that more of that authenticity can be seen. And the more of that can be seen, the more you just feel your life expanding, and the more the synchronicities happen, and the more the right people, the right paths open, and the more one step at a time life opens up in this amazing, magical, I love that word, way.
Yeah. 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 And you see, this is why we're talking about it. Now, I want to ask you this question because I always get asked this question. I really do. So let's talk about a couple of the, what is our word? Brands. I don't know who came up with that one, but okay, I'm going to use it. So what are some of the brands? Out of the gate, I was stuck and I created crust busting. It became, I'm not kidding, an overnight success the minute I did the show called Crust Busting Your Way to an Awesome Life. Why did it do that? And this is what I want you to come. Nobody told me I couldn't ask people like Shirley MacLaine, Olivia Newton-John, the Dalai Lama, Jack Canfield, you name them at the time. Nobody said to me, you're never going to get them. Tacey Trump was my producer at the time. Yeah,
Wow.
that's a real name. And she never stopped me. So there's this level of possibility that I want to talk about that soul wisdom gives us. Here's my question. Is it an innate gift from the soul?
Oh my goodness. So two things. Two things. First of all, wow, Dr. Pat, because to be able to dream that big without fearing, to just say, why not? Why not talk to the Dalai Lama? That's very unusual. Very, very unusual. Like we normally have. This morning I journaled about that exact thing. Dream bigger than you ever dared to dream.
Yeah.
Want and desire bigger than you ever thought you could afford yourself to desire and want. Like we limit even our desires, and that's why our lives fit that limitation, whatever, that glass ceiling or glass container, let's call it, that we create. So first of all, wow to that. And the second is, yes, there's hours I can talk about this, but let's say that when we incarnate, we have a soul plan. We have a path where we have established what are the core lessons that this lifetime we want to learn, in this lifetime, the core lessons, the core tools we bring that we've already learned, that we're bringing on so we can use them, and the ones that we're going to remember and access and expand upon. And when we clear the noise and we align more with that truth that is revealed to us, the more that we're living that soul's project. And we call it the wisdom because it's the awareness of the all-knowing soul being simply the small aspect of spirit being really an aspect of creator and universe.
I love that. So here's where we're going to go before the break. We have a few minutes. I want to be very clear. My vision never was just for me. Let me tell you what my vision is for the moment. I have an amazing team. You met Emily, Sierra, Jessica, Linda, Kim, Chris, and a bunch of other people over here that you don't know. They have been the backbone. And they have been very patient with our vision, our future, and where we are and where we're going.
Well, it takes a village. It takes a village.
But your prosperity, wisdom, vision, soul ask must be for everybody to reap the benefit financially, professionally.
Yes. Yeah.
Health, well-being, skills, everything. So when I do my vision, you hear me talk about my vision. No, my vision has to do with me and my role. But what I create is come the end of the first quarter, and I know this to be true, my team will have more prosperity than they've even imagined because we are enacting a 23-year idea. Now,
I can feel that.
Here's the question when we come back. See, I do the easy part. Then I'm going to ask you like a really... For all you out there, I know you're looking at me like Pollyanna Patty is here again. No, I'm a human being.
Pollyanna Patty, I love it.
It's either going to be Pollyanna Patty or Ping Pong Patty. So that's my Ping Pong Patty.
Ping Pong Patty.
Ping Pong Patty. But here's the thing. Doubt resides in me, resides in you. Doubt is the dream killer.
Absolutely.
Fear is that little thing. There's a quote that I'll read when I get back from break from Dune. Now, Dune, is a movie, but I read the books way back.
Yeah, me too. Years
You read
ago.
them too? When we come back, I am going to read that because doubt and fear are these kissing cousins. They work dynamically on you. But soul wisdom annihilates them.
Yeah.
Let's take a short break, everybody. When we come back, I'm going to let you know how you find out more about Shakti, about the show. And that's the question she's going to help us with. How do we annihilate those little two twins?
Yeah.
We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Dr. Pat Show. Some of you are pretty old school, so you remember the show when before music rights became like nasty, the show opening was Clocks by Coldplay. And it became so popularly associated with the show that our callers in the Seattle area would say, I walked into a grocery store and I heard that song play and I didn't think about them. And I thought about Dr. Pat. So they must have caught wind of that and said, okay, you can't use that song anymore. So the song you just heard, and this is what we're talking about today, like when a door shuts or you think it shut, doesn't quite shut. There's always like a sliver. See, unless you're going to cement your door, there's always a little sliver on that door. And so Nick Johnson, and I talked about Nick the other day, when we were at 444 Ravenna, in Suite 444, he said, I'm a musician. I wrote this song. I'd like you to use it.
Wow.
Now, before the break, we talked about a couple of things, but before we go forward, I want to take a moment because we're talking about your journey, but your journey has led you to be one of the top people to work with for people to get assistance, transformation, and help. How do they find out more about you?
They find more about me on my website, The Awaken Path, awaken, not awakened path, theawakenpath.com. There's everything you need about me, a lot of free gifts, everything is in there, including the information to watch the show, to buy my book, everything.
Now, before the break, we talked about the journey, and you beautifully shared what that first part of the journey was like. But my experience is whenever you have a journey, big, small, different, little, I mean, even women that have children start to wonder, what the bleep? Now, unfortunately for you, you got the baby in there. So, you know, the doubt with the baby, that's not going to help you. But it seeps in. Remember, I said to you, even Jesus, and I've studied a lot of the masters, I don't know any of them that, at least that I've studied, I don't know any of them that didn't have doubt before their next big decision.
Absolutely.
How did that play out in your life? And how do we help people move beyond that?
Yeah. So for me, fear, and it's not the same for everybody, but I literally have fear of fears. I had so many fears. And I remember this friend of mine when I was like 17 and we're talking about and this and that, and him telling me, oh my gosh, you even have fears of your own fears. And it stuck with me because it's truth. And that's when I discovered first that it's not about not having fears, because fears are a natural survival instinct. And if we talk human design, which is a whole can of worms.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
We have this center called the spleen, or the splenic center, or energy center of the spleen, that hosts all of our fears, and at the same time all the solutions for our fears, or I want to say the higher frequency. As humans, we have an expression of ourselves that can be really low frequency in every aspect of our energy. And we can also have the same expression, higher frequency. Simple one that I love, the sacral center, which is like the second chakra, the one right there by the womb, by the hara, can be sacral or can be sacred. And it's the exact same energy. So it's how we express it, how we live it. So it's not about not having fears, it's about understanding how to, first of all, confront the fear. So being courageous enough to lean into the fear, just like for those of us who ski, when you learn skiing, you tend to want to go backwards into the mountains, and that would have you fall on your butt and slide down the hill. And they tell you lean into the valley, lean into the mountain, and then you can control. The same thing is with the fear. The fear is bringing you precious information. Most likely that A, your growth and healing is exactly there, and B, the path has to pass through that fear. And the tools you have to courageously confront that fear is to remember that you are a divine expression, that you are meant to have joy, and that you must trust that there's something better at the other side of fear, that there's everything is happening for you and not to you, and therefore trust and surrender to that flow that is taking you somewhere where your limited mind can't understand, but that the bigger plan that you can't see has in store for you as a gift of beauty and expansion.
Yeah. Where we are now, and I want to ask you about this because this is part of your journey, and I think it's important for people to hear this. The pathway is shown, and I want to ask you about your pathway, the path, the medicine, and the wisdom. because each of us has our own experience. If I said the word to people now, initiation, some people would be like, oh, I got my butt kicked over, dot, 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 right? Other people would be, what a beautiful ritual I went through in the desert. And by the way, and I still got my butt kicked. But let's talk about that for you. You know, what you've
Initiation.
shared is pieces, but you must have seen the path. You must have, right? Acknowledged the path. You must have committed to the path. And then you must have walked the path. Tell us about
Absolutely.
this journey for you.
So it started when I was really young, really, really young. I didn't even know that I was so connected. I was raised in Argentina in an Italian family, so Catholicism was like the normal thing, and I was going to catechism, and I was 6. And I remember even this class, and the teacher was saying how God had different names in the Bible, and how the Jewish people called God a different name, and how the Muslims called God a different name. And I remember so clearly that I raised my hand and I said, but God is God. Who cares what you call it? And who cares what's the people that call God? It's the creative force. And I was 6. And the teacher, super told me that that wasn't incorrect, that the Catholic way was the only way, blah, 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 and then called home and said to my mom what ideas they were putting in my head. And then my mom gave me a super harsh conversation about that. So I remember so clearly. But at 6, I already felt that we are one. I already had that imprinting because my soul came here to help each one of us remember that we're a sovereign being and that we are one, and that the world we experience, we co-create. And I knew that without knowing that I knew it. Further, fast forward, I'm 17. Life is going really well. I'm being very successful in high school. I went to a Scottish school and they had all kinds of accolades, the team of hockey team, the captain of the hockey team, the captain of the, your colored team, the head girl of the school. I was all of them. I was everywhere. And so we were coming home one day and I'm telling my mom in the car, I'm afraid. Everything is going too well. I feel something's going to happen. And it was a knowing. It was a knowing, and I was only 17. Sure enough, year and a half later, in a year and a half, I lost a sister very tragically, my father to cancer, and my grandma. The only grandma I ever known that had come to Italy when I was born, more or less, to Argentina from Italy when I was born, more or less, my mom's mom. So in 18 months, at 20, right? 19 and 20, all of this happens in my life. And I was alone because my other siblings are much older, and the one died, the eldest, and the other lived far away, like a 2-hour flight away. And my brother had moved to Spain and we were in Argentina. So I was alone with my mom dealing with all of this. And it was so harsh, and I knew there had to be answers, even though I didn't understand. That's why I started with this Jesuit master to study meditation. And that was the first more formal step where I discovered that I had profound intuitive abilities and where I had a healing hand. That was my first stepping into that path, which then opened a whole lifetime of ups and downs and diving deep and then taking a distance and not knowing what to do with all of that, right? And then about 15 years ago, 15 years ago, I had this unfathomable mystic experience in my kitchen, where before that day, I thought that I had this belief, let's put it that way, that in order to connect with my guides or with asking guidance or whatever, I had to have meditated and lit candles and done my journaling. And I had the belief that I had to do all these things, right? To be able to have this little information coming from the divine. And then this day I'm in my kitchen in my pajamas, drinking a mug, in my mug, a cup of coffee. My boys are out to school. My husband is out to work. It was my time alone before I had to shower and go to my own work, which was my business. And suddenly this experience where my whole kitchen lights up. I hear a voice. I was watching something on the computer and a voice says, close the computer so we can talk to you. And I don't do it. I'm like, what? And I hear it again, and I hear it a third time, close the computer so we can talk to you. So I close the cover of my laptop, and suddenly the whole kitchen illuminates. In front of me, I had a table. Between the table and the fridge, which was in front, a whole scroll opens down from the ceiling. But the light in my kitchen, Dr. Pat, it was like beams of light, angelic beams. It was like having a stadium kind of light in my kitchen. And then the scroll, I see the letters typed, like in the old typography. And at the same time, I hear the words, and I'm being given specificity, specific things, what to say, what to do to my children, what to eat, when things would happen, what to do. But it was in Earth time. It was like 45 minutes. In heaven's sky, a time, I don't know, a ton, because so much information came. And then they said, Sirius, like the star, Sirius out. And then the scroll went, and then the energy went, and they left. And I collapsed crying because I wasn't used to be able to hold that kind of high frequency. And I bawled and bawled and bawled. I was shaking, and I knew I had to write it all down. So I grabbed pen, pencil, and wrote everything I could remember. And then I couldn't stop crying just because the energetic was so different than my own body could handle. And so I called my colleague and I said, I can't come to work. If I had driven, I would have had an accident. I was like so not understanding how to embody that word again, how to embody that kind of frequency. But that was when they said to me, every morning, we're going to give you instructions. And I started at 6 a.m. every morning, record it, I have this ability to hear. I now see, but it started with listening. And so I could speak it into the recording. And so I would, like in trance, just record what was being said to me. And that started this path where 2 years after that, they said, you need to drop absolutely everything and do this full time. And then, and there's so many more, but like in a succinct story, that's what I can say,
But you see, this is really what we started out talking about. And we started out talking about now, like these things that are popping up now. And you and I think during the break, and I'm not sure Emily will have to fact check that for me, but during the break, we're talking about the full moon coming. We're talking about, this is a 9-year.
Yes.
So for people that don't know what a 9-year is,
yes,
it's 9. It's the end
of a cycle.
Right? We don't go to 9 to 0. We go 9 and then
to
1.
Yeah.
And 2026 is a 1. And so I want to ask you, why now? Why the show? Why now?
Yeah.
And I don't use the word why. I mean, it's a strange word for me. So I like the how word. But I want to share with the listeners why you and I are in our why right now.
Yeah.
So that's another way to say it, isn't it?
Yes, I love it. And by the way, remember you had to read to us the Dune paragraph.
I'm right. Would you like? Let me do that first.
Yes, do that.
Let's do that first.
Yes.
So you and I, we kind of moseyed on out into the world, and we had this idea, early on, right? And the idea was, okay, wait a minute. I know there's more in my life. And yet it took me way, way longer to figure that out. But there is a line, and I was given the Dune books when I was very, very young, like almost like when they came out.
Yeah,
and
similar.
I certainly couldn't pay for them, so let's just say that. But there is a line even in the movie. And did you see the movie? Did you watch?
I saw number one.
Number one. Perfect. So number one, he's got his hand, and he has to put it in the box, right? So he puts his hand in the box, and then he's got a needle held up to his neck, and like if you pull your hand out, la la la, you're gonna die. I'm gonna stick you with the poison thing.
Yeah.
But his mom, Jessica, one of my favorite actors, by the way, Rebecca Ferguson, standing out in the room, and she starts to recite one of the most iconic philosophical and psychological verses, pretty much what people say in any book. So let me read it,
Yes.
because this I now keep in front of me. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. Now that makes me tear up.
Wow, that's so powerful. The key thing, we have two questions, but I have to address this because
Sure.
this thing about fear shall pass through. Several years ago, like 7, I was helping a coach hold an event of many, many, many people. And I was one of many coaches helping hold the space. And this one morning, she started talking about all the things fear about money. And she started addressing all of the things that are the natural fears that we have. And the room had a level of fear that was in crescendo. And I'm an empath and I'm a projector in human design, and I am open, and I received all that fear in my physical body. And it was a lot. I couldn't hold it. I knew it wasn't mine. I knew I was just noticing and being an antenna for all of the fear in the room. So I turned around and looked at one of my colleagues who was a spiritual coach as well. And I said, I need out. And she came with me, and we went to a tree who lovingly offered me its help. And I put my back to the tree, and I knew I had to allow the fear to pass through my body and go through the earth, and that the tree with its roots would help it dissipate and compost it into love. And it took less than a minute, and all of it was gone, 100% gone. And so as you read that paragraph, I remembered it's true. Fear is an energetic wave. If you let it pass, it goes and it's done. If you resist it, it'll stay there and it'll stay there. So that's such a beautiful way to express it. Thank you for reading that.
Yeah. And when you read this and you look up, for those of you that are going to Google it or Reddit it or whatever you're doing, you're going to get a lot of people's opinions. But I want to tell you what it was like to read this as a young person back in the day, like when you're talking about, 70s-ish. Frank Herbert was a genius. And anybody that reads the entire Dune thingies, the Dune books, you'll get it. Not going to get it from the movie people, because I don't even know what they're going to do with Dune 3. I heard they're just, yeah.
Yeah,
But the bottom line with this is, whatever the meaning is to you, that's what it means to you.
that's what counts. Yeah.
I wanted to read that because that is now what I read every day, and sometimes more times a day. I had a coach, a spiritual mentor, who passed away way too soon. And she used to say to me, honey, if you're not fearing anything, you ain't doing anything.
What a great
So
thing.
now, back
Yeah.
to your questions. You're doing something. Tell us
Yeah.
about that now.
Yeah.
And it is a why now, because you're feeling it like I'm feeling it.
Yes. Yes. And just yesterday, I just love the synchronicity. Literally yesterday, I was anchoring the answer to what you're saying. Why now? And first, the easy answer is because now is the time. That's like the really simple answer. And it's the aligned time in flow. And the more complex answer is when I was guided to stop everything else I was doing. I sold my real estate business that was called is still called, because it still exists, Tuscany Real Estate. When I opened it, can you believe that the web domain Tuscany Real Estate wasn't taken? Like crazy. So
No,
like I bought
that
those
is
domains.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So I sold that business and I leapt, as in leapt into the unknown and path of how to do a business online, how to promote things online, et cetera, et cetera. And then I took another coach kind of thing, the same thing. And I began leaning into this business. And honestly, at first, I had no idea what I was doing. I was throwing spaghetti at the wall. And I was just remembering yesterday that when I left 2 or 3 in my YouTube channel, if you go check, there's a few of the very old videos. I left the 2 or 3 more passable. But when you look at what I was doing, and when I look at what I was, I'm like, what was I thinking? But if I wouldn't have done that, I wouldn't feel ready today to be on camera for an hour and be able to do what I need to do. It was part of getting me ready. And the clarity I acquired during these 10 years of how to use all the tools I have, which are so many, because like you said, I've studied with so many different shamanic traditions and Buddhisms and all kinds of things, that I now know how to use that harmoniously to help others in group sessions, one-on-one. But getting there was a journey. And you and I met 2 years ago when you first offered me to do this. And I really wanted to do it, but I wasn't ready and the path didn't open. And I hadn't yet published my book. And a lot of things needed to happen at another layer of healing for me to be ready. So there's a reason why now is the time. For me, it's very clear when I look back. It's been 9 years with this business, so it makes a lot of sense. It's a full cycle.
Oh my
And
God.
I'm now fully grounded in what I do. My message is very clear. I know why I'm here and why I'm here to do what I'm doing. And there's a clarity in my transmission that wasn't there before. And that's why I think now is the time, amongst other things that I don't know, because there's a bigger picture. Again, the message needs to be out there. In my journaling this morning, the guides were saying, this show is in service. This message needs to get out there and you're the conduit. That's it.
Yeah. This is why we're doing this. Linda, who schedules almost everything for me, she came to me and she said, why don't you do an interview with Shakti first? And I
So
said,
grateful.
oh my gosh, of course. And it's so beautiful to do that, because once you start a show, I mean, you just saw me start my show and I didn't even say my name. For those of you out there, I'm Dr. Pat, and my very special guest today is
Shakti Bottazzi.
There we go. But we have to connect. There's a motto we have that we were told about us. And we were told the Transformation Network, it goes from your lips to their ears, into their hearts, guiding their souls. Now I'm working on owning that, but that's what your work does.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes.
Mm.
Thank you for seeing that. And thank you for having me here today. What a pleasure and how fun. How fun. I'm just chomping at the bit to start the first show on December 16th, by the way, 2025.
And what time?
9 a.m. first and third Tuesdays of every month.
Bingo.
Bingo.
Last question. We have a minute or so. I want to know your personal message. What would you like to leave everyone with today?
Yes. The personal message, the golden nugget is you are here to be fully you and to be fulfilled and joyful, regardless of what's happening in your life. It's not about a superficial happiness. It's about a deep, profound knowingness that there's a purpose for your being here. Even when hard things are happening in your life, this river carries you forth. And if you're not connected to that or you don't feel that, follow the show so that you can.
Thank you, Shakti. Again, give out your website.
theawakenedpath.com, theawakenedpath.com, or soulwisdomproject.com. Yeah,
I
it'll
like that.
guide you right to it. Soulwisdomproject.com as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Follow the pathway, everybody. I
Yeah.
want to thank all of you. And Susie, I hope you don't mind me calling you out because you literally did something this morning when I got your email that I couldn't do for myself.
She
You did
heard,
something I couldn't do for
she
myself.
heard and followed the guidance.
Yes, she did. I want to thank Emily for pushing all the right buttons and the entire team here that makes showing up possible. And to all of you now, as always, you're the best audience on the planet. We're looking forward to even connecting deeper with you in 2026. We'll see you next time.
Yes. Thank you.